Welcome back to a special episode of the Boss Juice podcast, where we're collaborating now with the Barrels and Bylaws podcast for this episode of a lunch break special. Matt, Rocco, thanks for coming on. This is unique in that we listen to your podcast all the time, and we've had you on before, but we have very similar guests, so I'm interested to kind of talk more about our guests and your guests and see if there's any overlap and how we can learn and how our audiences can learn from them together.
Absolutely. Thanks for having us.
Definitely, yeah. Man. Cool. I'm just pulling out my phone because I have notes on here. So
naturally.
Right. Yeah. Please, I'm not being rude here, or I
old school we'd have paper, but you have
right now I have it's digital.
You got it. You got what you got to do.
So that's always
my life,
fun.
Okay.
That is true. Sean's a big note guy, though. You send a lot of notes to me.
I send a lot of notes. I take a lot of notes when I'm in client meetings.
Yeah.
And because the thing is, when I go back, and it's like the high when you're coming off of a really good meeting.
Yeah.
And I sift back through everything, and then if I take good notes, man, it's so easy.
Yeah.
Easy peasy.
Sean is he'll send me, like, I thought I was a long texter.
Oh, yeah.
He'll send me notes of like different things. So I'm like,
There's some danger. I mean, taking notes by yourself, that's one thing, but so many people are using AI and all the dictation apps out there and recorders. You have to be careful. We've got some clients get into some hot water because they will record without full consent of the other party.
It's like on like a virtual call when you record.
Mm-hmm. So now a lot of those virtual calls, they have those little disclaimer boxes that come up. So that's how you can protect yourself. But I still think there's a lot of risk there, especially. Well, we'll skip out on some of those details. Just be careful. Yeah. Just be careful.
Remember, PA is a two-party consent state.
Yes.
Both parties have to consent to be recorded.
Okay.
So
interesting.
Yeah.
So like, what about how's like security cameras work then?
Well, security cameras. So again, that's why there's notices everywhere. You're being monitored, so you don't have to go in there. But if you're going into a store, they're giving you notice that you're being monitored. So you're assuming consent or inferring consent by entering.
Gotcha.
Same process like when we host an event. I'll hang different signs, displays, say, hey, you're in this setting, expect, But however, if we did specifically video families that had children or something like that, I take the time to go talk to the mom or the dad and just say, hey, if you want this, great. If you don't, I get it. I'm a dad as well.
Yep.
You should definitely do that.
So
absolutely.
You got to be respectful and smart.
Absolutely,
really.
Yeah. Common sense. Use common sense, too. That's the biggest thing. Just use common sense.
Yeah, it's a tough world. Things are, I feel like everyone's very litigious, and that's a good lead into the first topic I want to talk about. Is similar on your podcast and ours. All of our guests, all these entrepreneurs have experienced at some point in their career adversity, whether it be, extreme lows, personal, financial, etc. So one of the discussion points I want to talk about is thinking back on your previous guests and some of our previous guests. Do you think that for an entrepreneur to be successful, they have to go through this dark moment in time?
I will say absolutely. I mean, just knowing all the guests we had and just the people I've known throughout my career, any truly successful entrepreneur has had those dark moments, because you have to experience the pain and the fear and the looking yourself in the mirror, almost wanting to quit before you really have that breakthrough. I mean, I've had it. We know a lot of our guests have had it. I mean, it truly is. I believe it is almost a rite of passage for entrepreneurs. Because again, if you don't experience that pain or that fear, you really don't know what your limit is. Sure. That really tests your limit.
I always talk about that bank of knowledge that sits on your shoulders. I think it's the same thing.
Yeah.
Gives you experience to draw upon, good, bad, or otherwise.
Yeah, absolutely.
At least you're pulling. Yeah, I agree, Rocco.
100%.
I mean, a common theme for our guests have said how lonely of a road it can be. Yes. So, I mean, I think it's one of the same, right? Mm-hmm. The dark moments, and then couple that with just a lonely journey that it can be. So, agree 100%.
Yeah, when you guys interviewed me, I kind of talked about that a bit from my end. I mean, last year was, and then a couple years ago too, there was times where I'm just like, what am I doing?
Oh yeah.
And you know, I agree. I think it is a rite of passage, and I also think that it builds experience. You know, we talk about like the imposter syndrome a lot, and for a long time, you know, I thought like, who am I? Why would someone hire me? I'm this young kid.
Yeah.
What do people care about I have no experience. I have no, other than reading books in college, I have no actual real world experience. So why would I even be justified in talking about entrepreneurship? And it's like, now I'm looking back, I'm like, actually, I've been through some shit. And like maybe I actually kind of know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, and I think the more shit you go through, the more you realize you don't know.
Yeah.
But then you get the confidence of being able to solve the problem. Because I look at myself now. I'm 48 years old. Like, I probably in my mind know less than I did when I was 28 years old. But I'm more confident in my ability to solve the problem. Like at 28, I thought I knew everything. Like even in my early 30s, I'm like, yeah, I kind of know how the world works. No, the world kicks you in the face, and you're like, oh, okay, I don't know what I'm doing, but now I've built the stamina and the, you know, the muscle to solve problems faster now, and that's really all it is, truly. Because you never get rid of imposter syndrome; it's always there. You just learn to rely on your abilities more.
Yeah, Sean's big thing when we're looking to hire people is what do you call it? People who lived a little.
Yeah.
The people that, I mean, some of them have had addictions. They have just rough experiences, things you don't even realize that they're going through. You know, you would never know. But it's easy to judge that book, you know, by the cover. But, man, some of the best people I run into, the most honest and sincere people, that little cafe down at Nova Place. The guys that work back in there, every time I compliment them on their breakfast sandwiches, I could just tell, you know, these guys have been around, they work hard, and they're like, man, we really appreciate that. Nobody even says that. And I'm not saying this, I get this big star on my head. I'm just saying that's common decency, that's courtesy, and it's reaching back out to people that make a difference all the time that aren't really the high profile ones. It's cool when you do that stuff. And I know I'm not the only one, you know. We're breeding a really good team too.
Absolutely. On that note too, a lot of the guests that we have interviewed, actually, I think almost all of them, none of them have had any sort of investor come in. They've either started their business from the ground up. I think, you know, we're all similar in that nature too. Do you know, what are your thoughts on sort of the startup world where you have, you know, these young kids who come out of school, have these ideas, they get thrown millions of dollars, and, you know, it's hard for them to fail, you know, in a way, or they can't really get hurt. You know, do you think that model of entrepreneurship is good? I mean, obviously you need investors, but, you know, do you think those kids or those entrepreneurs are learning in the right way?
I'll let you start that one. I have my own opinion on that.
Well, my thoughts go back to the last meeting that we were in with Tim Elmore. And just dealing with the different generations. What's the title of his book, his next book?
Something about Gen Z.
Yeah.
I can't remember.
The future begins with the letter Z or something,
something like that. Something about Generation
We apologize.
Z. Yes. Yeah.
It is pre-ordered.
Yes.
But he was just talking about the mindset and how the mindsets have begun to shift. And with each generation comes with this new mentality when it comes to entrepreneurship, starting businesses, and it was some astronomical figure that
that's right.
Gen Z, like it was 70-some% want to start their own business.
The high school kids, they interviewed high school kids, like 70-some% of high school kids they interviewed wanted to be entrepreneurs or start their own business. Yeah.
Fascinating. Because again, a lot of those will get kicked in the teeth, and you'll start to figure out who's going to make it and who won't. But that, to me, there is a dynamic shift. So I think what works now is not necessarily right or wrong for what's going to work in the future. Like I said, I would love to dunk on Gen Z and what's going to happen. They're getting thrown millions of dollars for just like this concept that they kind of wanted to do on a Tuesday. But I don't think that's reality. Right. I just think it's a new marketplace and a new playing field.
I actually agree with you on that, because I think that we see with like a lot of the early stage starts that we work with, the amount of calls we get with like, hey, you know, we have this idea, have this app idea, this software idea, and it's like, okay, and like when I first started, I was like, you're going to pay, come in.
Yeah,
Now it's like we've been a little bit more, Sean likes to use the term either well-funded or put together startup, because I don't think kids, I talk about this all the time. I'm guilty of this too. Yeah. I grew up where I was obsessed with reading books and watching movies about entrepreneurs, and I said, okay, I correlated in my head, you start a business and you make cash. And it's like, it's actually really hard to start making cash.
Yeah, very hard, yes.
But I think it's how you define what a business is today too, because like when I was a kid, if you had lemons and garden hose water and some sugar, you could sell lemonade, right?
Yeah.
And then we grew up knowing brick and mortar, for the most part. And now, I mean, young people can make a very, very, successful living based on podcasting or being that knowledge base where they can share a lot of how-to information and things like that. They're really positioning themselves. And then the entertainment value too. Yeah. There's that other piece. Yeah. It's a different world.
But the one piece that you talked about, like the apps, I always tell people, that's great, but does it solve a problem? Because I'll give you an example. This is right when I started the practice years ago. I was doing work with some of the incubators down in Oakland. I was meeting with a couple kids from one of the universities, and they had this idea, and I'm like, they had a game-changing idea. They were going to raise millions of dollars. I sat down. I met them at a coffee shop in Oakland. I sat down. I said, okay. I said, so you basically created Evernote. It was literally Evernote, what it was. They said, no, but it's for education. I said, okay, but Evernote works for that. They couldn't get into their head because they went to a university. We're told like every idea you can raise money. I said, what problem does it solve? They couldn't articulate the problem it solved. It was literally, they just made the same app over again. Instead, it's for teachers. And they literally could not get through their head why this wouldn't work. And it never got off the ground because it didn't solve a problem. But I think a lot of these younger kids come out and they create this idea. They think it's this game-changing idea, but they're not looking at the real-world application. Like, does it solve a problem that people have and will pay money for? And if it doesn't, it could be the best thing in the world, but if it doesn't do anything or solve a problem, it's not a business. Right. It's really not.
Glorified hobby.
Right. That's exactly right. Yeah.
But I think that's also like, if you guys don't mind kind of getting into like the school system a bit.
Yeah.
I mean, I have a 4-year degree from Pitt.
Yeah.
I enjoyed my time there, but I don't use a single thing that I learned there, No. So
except relationships.
That's true.
Yeah.
True. I think like someone had told, I was listening to this podcast the other day, I can't remember which one it was, but the guy had said, when you're hiring people, do you look for a college degree? And he said, yes. He said, but not because like, oh, they're going to be smart or better educated. It's because I just care if they went to a 4-year institution and graduated, because it shows that they showed up on time, could commit to something, and was like, like moldable. Yeah. And he's like, and you can work with them. He's like, I get wary of people who couldn't finish because they just were failing out because they couldn't commit to being like an adult, basically.
Yeah, that's a great point.
Because I think that's the other thing too, is there's another statistic that shows that like the MBA programs in the United States, they teach kids how to run and operate the top 1% of businesses in the country.
Yeah.
Whereas small businesses are like the major backbone of the U.S. economy, and nobody is teaching you how to. I didn't know how to organize cash flow or do X, Y, and Z. Like I had to learn that, like, myself.
Yeah. I mean, that's a great point. So I'm thinking back to my MBA. I'm like, like I could do like a discounted cash flow valuation. I'm like, I've never used that in any of the businesses I've owned. I'm like, it had no application, anything I was doing, but there was a lot of stuff like organizational behavior and different things you learn. You're right. Like it is for that 1%, those large organizations. Doesn't apply in small business. And that's the problem, I think. That's a really good point.
Yeah.
Huh. I wish if the question is my thoughts on higher education, I think that's a deeper rabbit hole. I don't know if we want to go down.
That is definitely a rabbit hole.
But I agree, it's lacking on a lot of the fundamental aspects of entrepreneurship.
Yeah.
We'll leave it at that.
Yeah.
I agree with that.
Do you guys ever get an opportunity where you go speak to younger students, things like that, groups? I know we've both done it in different capacities, and those are great opportunities, I think, to share some of the things that I wish somebody would have shared with me. back in the day, it would have helped me cut to the chase a little sooner.
Oh, yeah.
However, it goes back to the first part of this conversation about sort of the school of hard knocks. It would have taken me, you know, I would have listened to people, but I was still gone my way and made mistakes. It's just how I am.
Yeah, I think most entrepreneurs are that way, right? Because if you look at the basic profile of an entrepreneur, they're risk takers. They want to kind of buck the system. They don't like traditional norms and rules. They want to do it their own way. So even if you tell them, here's the path, they're not necessarily going to do that path or take that path. They're going to carve their own path from that one. So I think there is a lesson in that. Like you have to do it yourself. I mean, I was the same way. Like, you know, there was stuff that people told me, I'm like, okay, well, I'll maybe try and do that, but I would do it my own way. Yeah. And I always looked at when Jordan came on, the piece of advice he was talking about, you know, don't take advice from people who haven't done what you wanted to do. And like, that's probably one of the, I mean, I'll listen to people and maybe they have a different perspective, but if you're telling me how to do something and get somewhere, but you haven't got there yet or done it, what gives you the ability to do that? Like why would I believe that?
100%. I always say this, I have, in my career, I think I get a lot of slack that I think people, when I approach someone, ask them for advice, like, oh, that's just, you know, he always says, like, use your youth, because like people like, oh, like he's a kid, you know. I'll tell people I'm like in my early 20s when I'm not, you know, but like they're willing to help me. But I have never been criticized in a non-productive way from anyone who was actually more successful than me. It was like the people who were like, why would you do that? Like that, oh, that's dumb. Like, oh, that'll never work out. It was the people who have never actually tried. It was like any actual entrepreneur that I talked to, they were like, that's a cool idea, but like, here's some things I want to point out, but they were like helpful. It's because like they've been there. And it's like, I agree with that. Like, don't take advice from people who are like, people are going to shit on you all day long. Yeah. You know, like if they're going to, you know, like, so like, it's like, even, you know, I started going to the gym and, you know, I always say like I was nervous to start going to the gym. Yeah. I was a skinny kid. I was like, how do I put on some weight here? And everyone was like, you know, like everyone there at the gym was the most supportive people. Because it's like they've been in my shoes, and it's like the people who criticized me were the ones who never tried. So
that's a really good point. You're 100% right. If you look at people who criticize you in life, it's always the people that I say are behind you. You know, that aren't where you are, but the people that are ahead of you, and you're actually seeking knowledge and advice from them. Like, I've always been willing to like talk to anybody that's asking for advice. Like, I'll stop what I'm doing. I'll spend hours on the phone with someone just because it's like I was there. Like, I wish I had that. Like, there's been kids like from schools that have reached out like, hey, I'd love to come in and just hear about your practice, and they're blown away by the fact, one, that I respond to them. Two, I'm like, yeah, come on in. I'll sit with them for an hour and talk. It's like, I wish, one, I give them credit. They have the balls to reach out to me to do that. Yeah. Two, like, I think if you can make an impact that way, like, why not? Like, I would never criticize someone for doing that or taking a shot. It's a really good point.
I want to ask a question in a different direction.
Yeah. Go for it.
You guys have been pretty successful with your podcast, Barrels and Bylaws, right? How do you, because we had the same conversation this morning in an earlier meeting, how do you vet your guests? How do you pick and choose who you want to interview and why?
That's his job. He does a good job of it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you. It's a great question in terms, I always like to have an introductory phone call. So what is nice is we are young enough in our journey that we already had that initial set list of, hey, these are people that we really want to talk to. But moving forward, we were already talking about kind of season 2, who do we want on the list? And we put together our names, and then we have some other ones where, do you think they're going to respond to us? Who knows? We just want good stories, and we want people to be genuine. Because again, you know, when you talk to someone, if they're putting up a front or a facade, I'm not interested. I'm not interested in talking to you, because I do want the raw emotions. We cover 2 topics. One is that switching point when you became an entrepreneur, and 2 are those oh shit moments. Yeah. So you can't get to a great conversation if someone isn't willing to show that, have the peek behind the curtain. So on those intro phone calls, I want to get a sense of, is this person just going to do a sales pitch this entire time, or are they actually going to get down to, and we've had guests so far that were near tears.
Yeah. No, absolutely.
And that's not that we want them to cry,
right?
But that's when you know it's truthful
Yeah.
and it's going to be helpful for someone who is on the fence.
Yeah.
We literally talk about that all the time. It's like, we've had a couple guests too, where like you can see them tearing up, and it's like, that's the other thing too, is I don't think that people realize the emotions, time, and effort that actual real entrepreneurs put into business, whether it's a coffee shop or, a multi-billion-dollar organization. They're like the people who are involved early on, you don't realize the risk, the sweat and tears that they have gone through to actually keep that thing moving.
Oh, yeah. I 100%. I mean, just the sheer amount of sleepless nights as an entrepreneur, like, are you doing everything right? Like, is everything taken care of? I've many sleepless nights, and you just kind of get used to it, I think, and it just becomes the new norm. I feel like, but you do. I mean, there is a lot of emotion tied to it. You don't realize it until you start telling the story, and you do see it with guests. You see it with people that have really had those moments of, moments of reckoning, where it's like, did I make the right choice? Should I go back? Should I get a job? Do I keep pushing forward? And you can really tell when someone had those moments, because you can see and almost feel the emotion in their words, and it's a powerful thing, because you're right. Like, I don't think people understand, because they just see the outside, right? They see the success, but they don't see all of the pain and suffering and just questioning of yourself that you go through as an entrepreneur. That's every entrepreneur goes through it, and I think it's a very heavy weight to carry that I don't think a lot of people understand.
Yeah, I worked in the corporate world. I think we talked about this for like 20-something years with architects and engineers. And I feel like a lot of colleagues, people like that, good people, but they never looked at it like, this is a piece of my business.
Yeah.
I'm getting a paycheck.
Yeah,
but when you take that leap and you realize now that your name's on the door, and you can send a Christmas card if you want to send a Christmas card. There are no corporate regulations against that in our group. But anyhow, it's just funny, the sense of ownership that you have. And I mean that from the truest sense. Yeah. And then how do you guys, because I know you run a nice ship here, how do you get the buy-in from your staffers, especially new ones, like getting them acclimated and having them understand sort of the Cozza way?
Yeah. I mean, that's an interesting question, because literally the vision has just changed. Like, we had our EOS meeting a couple weeks ago, and when we started the EOS, we had, this vision of this, numbers, and we were sitting there, and I remember looking, I'm like, this does nothing for me anymore. And I had been already rethinking the vision, and now the vision is truly about impacting people. Like, how do we make everybody that touches the firm better? Clients, employees, partners, like, it doesn't matter whether we have these 10 employees or 110 employees. It's like everybody that touches the firm, how do we make them a better person? And to me, it's just, one, living that way, right? You have to live that way. True. Two, I think you have to then learn to start articulating it in a way that your people understand. I haven't always done the best job of that. I could tell you that for certain. Like, it's just, you think people understand, but you don't. So I'm realizing now that, okay, I need to articulate this more and really truly hone in on, this is what I mean. And then when we're doing stuff as a firm that's not in alignment with the vision, it's my job to step in and stop it. That's how I look at it. And it's a work in progress, because I think, over time, the vision will always change, but it just gets better, I think.
It's a leadership thing too.
Yeah, it is.
I mean, you set the tone as soon as you open the front door.
Yeah.
And what the expectations are. We're in a position too, we're in growth mode. And we brought on a young lady about a month or so ago, a month and a half ago. And that's one of the things I want to make sure that we do a good job in the acclimation process, just explaining things and expectations. And when you see maybe somebody coming up short, I want to figure out, what should I have done better to bring that person in? What examples could I have included, or something like that? Everybody goes through their own thing.
Yeah, that's the hardest thing to figure out, I think, is just how to, I know at least myself, when I look at it, it's like, if someone's falling up short, I blame myself. So it's like, what could I have done differently? So that's a constant question I'm having with myself. Like, if someone's not doing something they should be doing, or they're not meeting expectations, I take that very personal. That's something I wrestle with every day. And it's, because there is a level of responsibility I have, but there's also a level of accountability I didn't put on a person. And so that's this kind of this dichotomy you deal with as a leader, and I haven't figured it out yet, to be honest
Have
with
you
you.
fired anybody?
Yeah, we fired 2 last year, probably 3 people total out of the firm. We fired 3. Yeah.
That's a whole experience in itself.
Yeah, I mean, it is. I mean, but it was one of those things when we did it. I mean, both of the last 2, you just knew. Like, it was like, yeah, it was, and instantly things changed. Mm-hmm. So that's how you know you make the right decision. Now, could we have moved sooner on stuff? Mm-hmm. Yeah, we could, but I think there was a level of data collection we had to do, but it's definitely a different animal, truly.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. There's a lot to unpack there, but we've gotten a lot better because we've just been in hyper growth mode for the past 5 years, where it had cut deep every time something didn't work out or the expectations weren't hit, giving ourselves, but also the team, a level of just grace, because everybody's trying to figure this out, right? We're trying to grow as a business. We're bringing on individuals who are also starting out their careers. So they're trying to figure it out while also maintaining the vision of the firm. So it's recognizing that. And to Rocco's point, he mentioned the buzzword, but accountability is a big piece. Don't let it slip and fall through the cracks of letting a missed expectation just kind of fester and sit there, which we were great at.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
And then we would talk to each other, but not really talk to the entirety of the team.
Yeah.
Now I think we're doing a lot better.
Yeah.
And I think it's always going to evolve, and we're going to be learning from and trying to get better at. But yeah, I definitely think that's accountability, although that is a famous buzzword. It's very true.
Yeah, absolutely.
Accountability is very true. On that note too, so one of the things that Sean and I always talk about is, it is one of our kind of weaknesses or faults is, and Rocco, you brought this up of how, like, you know, you feel accountable to making sure people succeed.
Yeah.
We were just talking the other day that him and I's go-to mechanism, if we see something that's wrong and needs corrected, it's, let me do it. Let me fix it. And I think that is an entrepreneurial minded thing. It's like, because when you start a business, you're wearing so many different hats. And as you grow, you start to realize you're paying people to do certain things, get them off your plate. Yeah. But when it's not going in the direction you want, my first instinct, and same with Sean's, is like, let me just jump in and do it. Let me just jump in instead of trying to like teach and correct. Yep. So my question here, though, I guess the topic of discussion is, we have gone back and forth as to if we you know, we're on EOS too, and one of our, like, you know, cultural things is like entrepreneurial minded, entrepreneurial spirit. Yeah. You need those people in an organization, but I don't know that you want a full organization or company full of entrepreneurs. What's your take on that?
I would agree. You can't, because nothing would get done. Mm-hmm. Like nothing would get done. You need tacticians to do the shit the entrepreneurs don't want to do. Mm-hmm. Like, that's it. You need to, like, and we have the same thing. One of our core values is on the entrepreneurial spirit. Doesn't mean you have to be an entrepreneur. Yep. That means you got to be willing to think outside the box. Yep. And you don't have to follow the path. Like, make your own path. That means there's going to be employees. There's going to be people that build a book of business. There's going to be people that are, you know, entrepreneurs. There's a lot of different pieces to it. But yes, if you had if this firm was full of entrepreneurs, we have a bunch of great ideas and no money. Yeah. Like, literally, we would just be throwing shit at the wall and be like, this is a great idea. And then nothing would happen. So you need people to actually execute. And I'm the same like you guys. Like, I'll just jump in and do it. And I've started to, like, this past year, I feel like I've tried to, like, pull back a lot more and say, okay, I'm okay if it's not the way I do it. It's still getting done. So that's a big learning lesson that I had to go through, to really pull myself back and say, let the people do what you pay them to do, and don't have to jump in. But still, my natural instinct is to, you know, you do that with your kids. Like, my daughter Ellie, she's learning to drive. So, yeah. So I'm sitting in the car with her and she's driving. I just want to go grab the wheel and, like, no, just, you're too close to the road. And I'm like, okay, I have to just. So I'm like smashing my hands on the glove compartment and pretending like I'm just rubbing my hands. You know, so I'm learning. Driving with her is actually teaching me a lot about just letting things go and letting people do what they should be doing. So. It's a struggle, though, every day, man. Every day.
That electric scooter and Uber on speed dial is looking a lot better now, isn't it?
God, She's getting a lot better though. I will give her credit, but it's still, it's like, you know, because they grow up so fast, and I'm like, okay, like you're driving now, and I'm in the passenger seat. What the hell is happening? This is weird. So
stop, where you're going to get into the emotional section.
Yeah,
we'll have to start sharing tissues, right? No, that's the truth.
It is definitely.
That's cool.
It's tough though to kind of let go of the reins. You know, Sean's quote of the quarter right now is, "Great idea. Who's going to put legs to it?"
That is a good quote. Yeah. Because that's a struggle that entrepreneurs have. Like we come up with ideas, right? You need people around you that can execute them. Because I can only execute so much. There's only so many hours a day that I can execute, but I'll come up with, if someone's executing for me, I'll come up with 500 ideas a day. But if I don't have the space to do that, and I'm still executing and doing the tactical stuff, my brain's not in its zone of expertise. It's really not. Like I know that about myself.
You know, too, it's funny because I'm looking at the four of us, right? We're all smiling at different times. Yeah. It means we enjoy what we do. Yeah, it doesn't mean it's not hard.
Oh,
and there are days that are way harder than others, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
But I'm honestly, I love what I do. Yeah. And the clients I serve, man, they are such good people. Yeah. I was really blessed, fortunate to surround myself with some really good people, and I'm sure it's the same for you guys.
That's what matters most, definitely.
Yeah, being able to work alongside business owners. Yeah. It's so much fun. Mm-hmm. Again, we talk about putting the bow on the entrepreneurial spirit. Just, they think differently. Mm-hmm. Yeah. They're always coming up with ideas. It's truly blessed to be able to work with business owners every day.
It's something new every day. Yeah. You know, it's like I'm sure Matt probably gets a lot of this too, but I'll call him and be like, dude, listen to this.
I remember just the last time you shot me a text message, hey, thinking about doing this. And I said, oh God, no! don't do that.
Don't do that. That's what our job is sometimes, is to tell people, no, that's not a good idea. Let's rethink this a little bit.
Well, it's fun watching people like our cameraman, creative director Jaden, doing a lot of really cool things and coming up with his ideas. It's fun when you let these guys run with things, and then you just sit back, and if there are ways we could step in and help with certain pieces, otherwise let them do their thing.
Yeah.
And that's awesome. It's a lot. That's what makes it really, I think, key to the, as you're growing people and watching them develop. Antonina knows I always use like this little chart, right? Mm-hmm. It's a little bell curve. Okay. And I put people in these blocks, and I try to figure out where can I be helping them in their little journey. Yeah. You know, because even if you have a whole pile of designers, they're all wired differently. Oh, yeah. So absolutely. What phase are they going to be in? Yeah. How can we help them? And we've adopted a lot of those things as we grow people. Yeah. It's cool.
Yeah, that's true. It's, one of the things that Sean really has helped me out with is he just had years of experience of like managing people. And like, I think that is like, you don't learn that in school. Like, I don't think there's a class for that. And it's like, you know, maybe psychology would learn how to like, you know, read people and kind of get them to do what you need them to do. But management is tough. And so it's like, you know, having someone who, you know, has lived a little and, you know, you manage how many people in the corporate world, like to just understand how to like, you know, plan ahead and get people to do things, schedule shifts, etc. So,
well, leading and managing are two different things too. Like that's the other thing. Like, I love leading people. I hate managing people. Yeah. Because managing is like the accountability. Like I just want everybody to come in and have fun and do their job and not have to worry about shit going wrong.
Right.
You know, so that's why I'm a terrible manager. I like to lead. I'm a terrible manager. I know that about myself. That's not my strong suit. So it is. You don't learn to do. You don't. I think you're either built to manage or you're not. Right. I don't think management is a skill that someone that's not built for it can learn. Maybe a little bit, but I think you're either wired that way or not. That's how I look at it.
Mm-hmm. Interesting.
I agree. But the thing is, you probably positioned yourself with some good people around you to take on those bits and pieces. I mean, we all have things we don't want to do that we have to do. And then you bring in the people that are really, you know, they subscribe to that. And they're really good.
Yep, that's exactly right.
So you said you believe that people are either like born a manager or not born a manager. So that's actually one of the topics that I have here is, do you think entrepreneurs are born or are they made?
It's a chicken and egg kind of question, isn't it?
It's tough.
If you're asking me, I think it can be both, but I think there are some people that just have inherent qualities that they were born with, like a propensity for risk, right? The ability to not give a shit about a bad outcome. Because to me, like, if you truly want to be an entrepreneur, like, you have to not give a shit about risk. You have to be willing to put your balls on the line and just do it and jump and figure it out on the way down, because there's no real handbook that says this is how you do it. There are tactics and tools that you can use, but I think those are qualities there are some people that are born with. Now, I do think you can learn entrepreneurship, right, just through life experience. I think if you go through life and have these experiences where you learn to take more risk, you learn to, to see things differently, I think it can be taught too. But I think, I say there are some inherent traits that people are born with more so than they learn.
I think that is the perfect lawyer answer. It depends.
It does.
It depends.
It does, at least in my opinion.
But no, I agree with you. I think you could give me every skill set and train me. I will never make the major leagues.
Right.
I'm not going to be the next starting pitcher for the World Series. Yeah. It's not going to happen.
Yeah, same here.
I'll give you the live the little answer. So riding bicycles, right? Build a ramp.
Yeah.
Go as fast as you can. Who's going to do it? Who's going to jump the furthest?
Oh, yeah.
That's another quality.
Yeah, that was us.
The risk taker. That's the risk taker you mentioned.
We used to jump off garages. Like, we'd build ramps like off of garages and just see what happened. Like, that's the stuff. And again, like that, like, and a lot of my friends that I grew up with that were the ones doing that, they're all business owners now. Yeah. Like, truly, like, every one of them, I'm thinking back of like times we would do just stupid shit as kids, like dumb, how do we not die stuff. And all of those guys all own businesses now.
So you would have grown up 70s, 80s, right?
Yeah, like late 77 I was born, so like the 80s. So it was, jumping on bikes off stuff.
When were you born? I'm just curious.
89.
All right, so you're the tail end of that generation, That's the generation Kathy's in.
Okay.
And it's just funny to watch how just people are the same and different.
Yeah.
You've had all these influences, whether it's parents or friends or street level stuff,
I saw something recently. They were talking about, like, growing up. They said the news used to come when we were growing up. The 10 o'clock news would come on and say, "Do you know where your kids are?" Like, they had to remind parents back in the day that you actually had kids, because they didn't really give a shit where we were. It's like, as long as we came home before the lights came on, like, that's all that matters. They said, the news used to say, "It's 6 o'clock. Do you know where your kids are?" Yep. And it's like, oh shit, I don't. So there was no cell phones. There was no way to get a hold of us. It's so different now.
You're from this area.
Newcastle. I grew up in Newcastle.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Matt, where were you from?
Little town called Sarver or Freeport. Yeah. So one stoplight growing up.
Right on. That's cool.
Yeah.
It's good stuff.
I'm in a different generation, because my dad's, his big thing when I was growing up, he's like, he said to me a couple months ago, he's like, you never rode a bike to your friend's house. Like, you would always, like, have to, like, have, like, your mother drop you off or whatever. And I was like, because you guys didn't let me. I was like, we had friends that lived like a couple blocks away, and like, you would not let me ride a bike there. Like, they're like, no, it's not safe. It's like, so like, you cannot criticize me.
Yeah, right, exactly.
Because like, they're like, well, we grew up in different times. Like, I would get jumped. I was like, well, like, don't yell at me, because you were yelling at me not to ride my bike.
Great point, really.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, it was a different world. Like, I mean, I guess the world was different then. Like, we weren't exposed to so much. Like, there was probably all this danger back then. It's just our parents didn't see, because we didn't have social media. It was like, you only knew what the newspaper told you and what the nightly news said. So like, we would literally leave in the morning, ride our bike from Newcastle to Ohio, and then come back. And like, our parents had no idea where we were. They just knew we'd be home. Yeah. And if we didn't get home, they'd start calling other parents saying, "Hey, are they at your house?" And then we'd be somewhere. Yeah. So it was definitely a different world.
Hilarious.
Yeah.
Interesting.
But yeah, to answer your question about born or made, finish my thought. While there's inherent skills, I'll never be the starting pitcher for the World Series. I do think you can teach a lot. I think you can be the best rec league baseball player out there. So I think for entrepreneurs, there's an element where you can't get over some of the intangibles that can't be taught. And that's jump out of an airplane,
Yeah.
which I'm still scheduling that for everybody in the office.
There we go.
That's where Rocco's has drawn the line. He
Yeah.
said, no, I don't think so.
It's
Yeah,
a workers'
count me
comp
out.
issue. That's a workers' comp
Now, that's
issue.
an attorney answer right
That's
there.
the attorney answer. Yes, that's a workers'
Outside
comp
of
issue.
working hours.
Yeah, you sign a release. That's fine.
Yeah. That's a good point, though, because I think like a common theme we've been talking about today is how, you learn through experiences and you get better over time. So I think there are parts that you can learn,
Yeah.
but I also think it's that initial jump. It's like, how do I want to word this? And this kind of leads into the last topic I want to bring up and discuss is, a common theme of advice. And both of us, we asked a similar question. You guys asked a similar question about, like, if you give like an advice to an entrepreneur, what would it be? And a very common theme from everyone is just like, just do it. Just take that leap. Just give it a try. Like, stop thinking about it. Just do it. It's like the common theme we hear. And I think that's honestly what, holds back entrepreneurs. Like the real entrepreneurs will just jump in. They might not know the answer. They're just going to screw it. Let's give it a try. We're in to use Sean's term, put legs to it in some capacity.
Yeah.
So I do think I'm in agreement. I think there's a mix. Like, it's like you can learn certain things.
Yeah.
And if you're not teachable, you have a problem because you don't know everything. You're going to run into major issues.
Yes.
But I do think there is just like, an inherent or there's, like you said, the risk ability. Because I mean, how many times have we talked to people and we try to talk about like our compensation model and they're like, I just kind of want that safe thing. It's like you just don't fit our culture because you're not like, I use the term. How many times do I say it's like I want a culture where like if I'm eating, everyone's eating.
Yeah.
But if I'm starving, I want everyone to feel it a little bit
Yeah,
because
exactly.
like something's not working out.
Yeah,
something's not
exactly.
moving in the right
And
direction.
that's
way of
not
putting it.
unfair.
Right.
Yeah.
So,
That's a good way of putting it. I never thought about it that way, but that is actually a really good way of putting it because there should be if there should be a level of, you don't want to say pain, but discomfort that everyone feels. Because-
Consequence.
It's a good way of putting it. It's a good word of consequence for it. And I think, that's something that I never really focused on here truly when I think about it, but it's that's important, I think, because there is a level to your point. Like, you can teach certain things to people and they can, life will teach them, certain experiences will teach them, but there are some inherent things that, that risk tolerance is one of those things that just, you either have it, you have a very high tolerance for risk. And you can build a tolerance for risk over time, but I think entrepreneurs, there's something off in their wiring where you just look at like, okay, like cool, like doesn't really, you figure it out as you go. They don't need to have the whole plan laid out. I think that's probably more of if I would say there's a quality that entrepreneurs have that I think they're born with is they don't have to have the whole path figured out. They just have to know where to go next.
Yeah. Have a vision of some sort.
That's it. Yeah.
I think the cool thing is you guys are easy to talk to. You always have a great story and great information to share, and we appreciate that.
Yeah.
But the other thing I hope is clients or prospective clients kind of get to see the vibe that you bring and the vibe that we bring.
Yeah.
We are what we are. We are who we are. There's nothing fake going on here.
No, absolutely. That's what we try and do.
It's cool.
So the last question I'll ask before we wrap this up is, of all the guests you've interviewed so far, what has been your favorite piece of advice? Like, what was that piece of advice you're like, oh, that was really good. I'm gonna take that home to the bank.
Huh.
Piece of advice or a theme? Can I change?
Yeah, theme's fine.
Oh, such an attorney.
Yeah.
thing. Let me take your question and just change it.
I'm gonna answer the question I want to answer, not that one.
The common theme that I've seen and then crafting it to blend them all together is, for anyone on the fence, do you see the risk or do you see the opportunity? That's initial question. Just ask yourself that. Do I see the risks here that are holding me back? Or do you actually see the opportunity, that excitement? It's like, I don't care what the risks are. That's what I want to do. If you see the risks, start digesting as much as you can. Start talking to entrepreneurs. Start listening to podcasts like both of our podcasts. Just digest as much and consume as much as possible, because what I've seen, and this is not to put down any of the guests. This is actually what I have just noticed. No one is a superhuman.
Right. Yeah.
It is amazing how normal entrepreneurs are.
Yep.
They're not like these Zuckerbergs or the Steve Jobs, they are normal people that have sleepless nights. It's just they saw the opportunity and they dove in and they took whatever the risks were. They just dove in and they just did it. Getting back to your point, that's where I think some of this can be taught, because it's a full mindset shift. And it's when you put the opportunity first and that's what you look at, you can deal with the risks afterwards and you can deal with the punches as they come. That's the common theme that I've seen.
Yeah. I would say, I would echo that, and I would add to it, it's really about perspective, right? If you want to see good, you'll see good. If you want to see bad, you'll see bad, but it's your choice. It's how we perceive the world as our choice, right? Nothing is good or bad unless we make it that way. So truly, you can look at every challenge as this sucks or this is an opportunity to get better. And I think the successful people look at the challenges as opportunities, and they just have a really good perspective on life. That doesn't mean you're not going to get stressed. There are days where, like, I look out the window, I'm like, I just want to go cut grass for a living. I want to jump out this window right now because I'm pissed off. But those are few and far between. Most of the days are like, okay, like, I ask myself, what's the alternative? I wouldn't do anything else. So this is what I chose. Like, I wanted this, so what's there to complain about? If you just have a good outlook and really have a good perspective, it makes life in this journey of entrepreneurship a lot easier. It really does.
What about you two?
Yeah.
Well, you can't get out of the question.
Yeah, no.
Hold on.
Yes.
You got an answer there, Sean?
Well, I just think it's all about the people that you bump into, and, how can you have a positive influence one way or the other? And I know, listen, I'm not a saint either, but I'm going to be honest with you. I'm going to tell you things that I believe to be true, and then we can talk about it. We can go back and forth. I want to have good dialogue with people.
So I'm going to, Matt, first of all, your answer was very poetic. I really like that. But similar to you, I think I'm going to change it to a theme too, because I think almost every single guest that we've interviewed in the 40-some episodes we've done has brought up this theme or idea around don't quit. And, I've had my fair moments where I'm like, what am I doing? I think I'm going to hang it up. And it's just like, I think Jen said, or not Jen, Jan from On Par, she had mentioned, she used a quote from Finding Nemo. She's like, that quote, just keep swimming. She's like, that is, nothing's going to be perfect. You're going to have your ups and your downs. Just keep swimming. Just keep moving forward. Because I believe that I think a lot of entrepreneurs who don't make it, they just quit too early. And I think that's like, you mentioned, there's nothing special about, any of us other than like, we keep coming in every day, moving forward and trying to make things better. And I think that's the best piece of advice I think I've collectively got from everyone is, just don't give up. If that's really what you want to do in life, don't give up.
Yeah, it really comes down to like another quote from I've heard on a podcast from the book, the Boy, the Horse, the Fox, and the Mole. And so like the boy's at the edge of the woods and he's talking to I think the horse or something, says, I can't see the path. And the horse says, can you see the next step? He says, yes, we'll just take that. That's really entrepreneurship. It's like, you're not going to see the whole path. Just take the next step. It eventually becomes clear as long as you keep moving forward. But most people get so caught up because they can't see the path. They don't do anything. They take no action. If you stay in constant motion as an entrepreneur and take the constant forward motion, success is inevitable, but you just have to be willing to do what's necessary to get there. Yeah.
I agree. Cool. But I appreciate it. Thank you guys for hopping on and doing this collaboration. As you guys know, listen to the Boss Shoes podcast on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Music, wherever you get your podcasts, and also the Barrels and Bylaws podcast as well. Check them out.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, thanks for having us, man. It's a pleasure as always.
Of course.
Cool.
Sweet.